The empty chair theater lights were dazzling. People whispered excitedly as cameras flashed across the red carpet. It was the premiere night for the most anticipated film of the year, a film that starred two of Hollywood's most beloved actors, Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas. But tonight, something felt off. Keanu stood at the center of the crowd, smiling gently, answering questions. His suit was plain, black, like always. Simple, classic, respectful. But his eyes kept drifting toward the entrance, again and again, like he was waiting for someone, like he wasn't really there. And then it started, the whispers. Where's Anna? Isn't she supposed to be here? They said she was flying in this morning. Keanu tried to stay calm, but the truth was, he didn't know either. Anna hadn't responded to any of his texts in 2 days. She didn't answer his calls. No one knew where she was. Not the director, not the studio, not even her closest assistant, and the seat beside him at the event. It was empty. He glanced at the chair when the lights dimmed. He thought maybe, just maybe, she'd walk in at the last moment. That she'd smile like she always did, whisper something sarcastic in his ear. They'd laugh like it was just another normal night. But that chair stayed empty as the host introduced the film. People clapped politely. Keanu clapped too. But inside, his mind was racing. He'd seen Ana just a week ago. They were laughing over sushi, talking about this night. She was nervous, but excited. She said this film meant everything to her, and now she was just ... gone. When the movie started playing, Keanu whispered something to the person beside him, stood up and quietly left the theater. No one noticed right away. But backstage, the security guard did. Mr. Reeves, is everything all right? Keanu looked at. Heman asked a quiet question. Can you get me a car? I need to go see someone. He didn't wait for an answer. Anna was in her apartment, alone. Lights off. Curtains closed. The world outside was celebrating her success, but she couldn't hear it. Not really. Her phone was on silent. Dozens of missed calls blinked in. The darkness. Texts from her agent, her friends, the studio. And from Keanu, the last one just said, I'm here for you, always. But she didn't respond. Her hands trembled as she held a small piece of paper in her lap. It wasn't the script, it was something older. A letter from her mother, one she hadn't read in years. Tonight, for some reason, she found it buried. In an old drawer, the words hit differently now, like they were written just for this moment. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone, Anna. When the world forgets your name, the people who love you will still remember who you are. Anna closed her eyes. Tears fell, quiet and steady. The truth was, she didn't come to the event because she didn't feel like she deserved it. She felt like an imposter. She thought the world only clapped because of how she looked, not because of what she gave. And somewhere deep inside, she felt hollow until there was a knock at the door. She froze. Another knock, gentler this time. She wiped her tears quickly, hesitated, then walked to the door. And there, standing in the hallway, holding a bouquet of wildflowers in one hand and a bag of takeout in the other, was Keanu Reeves. Not a camera in sight, not a paparazzi nearby, just him showing up for her. Anna opened the door slowly, double quotes. Keanu, what are you doing here? He smiled softly. You didn't show up to the event, ... So I brought the event too. You. She stared at him, confused. He lifted the bag. Your favorite dumplings. Then he stepped aside. Behind him were 5 people from the crew. The director, the costume designer, 2 cameramen, and the sound engineer. They were all smiling, kind, respectful. Anna blinked. What is this? Keanu lowered his voice. You? Don't need a stage to shine, Anna. You already are the light. Just wanted to remind you. Anna covered her mouth. Her eyes filled again. But this time, the tears felt different. She stepped aside and let them in. As they set up the small projector in her living room and dimmed the lights, Keanu sat beside her, just like he would have at the event. Only now, there was no noise, number, pressure, just warmth. And when the opening credits rolled, Anna leaned into Keanu's shoulder and whispered, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Keanu didn't look at her. He just placed his hand gently over hers and said, "We all fall sometimes, Anna, but you're not alone." The night that healed hearthlights from the small projector flickered softly against the living room wall. Outside Los Angeles buzzed with premiere night energy. But inside Anna's apartment, everything was calm, safe, silent except for the gentle sound of the movie starting. Keanu sat beside her, his body still, his presence warm. On the table sat unopened dumplings, a box of soft noodles, a slice of chocolate cake. Anna didn't remember telling him she liked, but he remembered. As the movie began, Anna tried to focus on the screen. She tried to watch herself the way others would, strong, graceful, confident, but she couldn't. All she saw was how tired her eyes looked, how forced her smile seemed, how much she had been pretending to be perfect, pretending to be enough. She lowered her head. A quiet ache grew in her chest again. Keanu noticed. He didn't say anything. Instead, he reached into his pocket and took out a small notebook, one he always carried, filled with poems, thoughts, and lines he wrote down when something touched his heart. He flipped a few pages, paused, then handed it to her. Anna took it, confused. "What's this?" she whispered. "Just read," he replied. Her eyes moved slowly across the page. It wasn't a poem. It was a list. Things I admire about Anna. She laughs like she means it. She's the first one on set and the last to leave. She remembers the names of everyone, even the assistants she works. Even when she's hurting, she makes people feel seen. She carries herself like a star, but listens like a friend. She once bought lunch for the entire crew, and no one knew she called me when I was grieving. She doesn't realize she's already enough. She matter. Sana covered her mouth again. "You wrote this?" Her voice cracked. Keanu looked down. "I did, 2 months ago." "Why?" "Because I knew one day you'd need to remember who you are." Anna closed the notebook, held it close to her chest, and broke down. Not from sadness, but from relief. Someone saw her. Not the makeup. Not the interviews. Not the polished version she had to present. The real her. She cried quietly, and Keanu sat there beside her, never letting go of her hand. The rest of the crew quietly watched the film. No one spoke. They respected the moment. They knew this night was no longer about a premiere. It was about something more human, healing. After the movie ended, no one clapped. Not because they didn't like it, but because applause didn't feel right. Dead. The director turned to Anna and said gently, "That was your best performance. But I think tonight was even braver." Anna smiled weakly. The costume designer chimed in. "We brought the dresses, you know. The red one you loved, and the silver one you never wore." Anna shook her head. "I didn't feel like I belonged in them anymore." Keanu leaned in. "How about you wear one now? Not for cameras, not for critics, just for yourself." Anna hesitated, and then something inside her whispered, "Try." She stood up slowly, walked to her bedroom, after a few moments, returned wearing the red one. No makeup, hair untouched, barefoot. And yet, in that moment, she looked more powerful than she ever had on any carpet. Keanu stood up, smiled, and gently bowed like a gentleman. "May I have the honor of this dance?" Anna laughed softly. "There's no music," he shrugged. "Then we'll make our own." Someone from the crew played a soft piano track from their phone. And there, in the middle of her tiny living room, Anna danced with Keanu. Slow, quiet, real. She rested her head on his shoulder, closed her eyes. And for the first time in weeks, she let go of the pressure, the fear, the weight. When the dance ended, the director said, "We captured the whole thing. With your permission, we'd like to share just a piece of this moment. Not the pain, just the truth. To remind people that even stars need support sometimes." Anna looked at Keanu. "What? Do you think?" He didn't answer for her. He never did. "This is your story," he said. "But I think it could help someone else feel less alone." Anna nodded. "Okay, but just the moment where I stood up, that's all." The team agreed, and as the crew began to quietly pack up, Anna pulled Keanu aside. "Why do you always show up like this?" she asked. He thought for a moment. "Because someone once did it for me, and I never forgot how it saved me." Anna looked down. "Thank you for bringing the event to me." Keanu smiled softly. "You are the event, Anna. The rest is just noise." The post that broke the silence. Next morning, Anna woke up to a soft knock on her door. She stretched slowly, her body still tired, but her heart lighter. The night before had changed something in her. The shame wasn't completely gone, but it no longer controlled her. The moment with Keanu and the small crew, the dance, the laughter, the way they looked at her not as a product, but as a person, it had healed a part of her that had been silently hurting for years. She walked to the door, opened it, and found a small envelope on the floor. No signature, just one word written on the front: "Shine." Inside was a printed photo, a still frame from the night before. Her, in the red dress, standing alone in the living room, barefoot but strong. Looking into the light of the projector with quiet dignity, underneath the photo was a note. Handwritten, "Sometimes the world doesn't need more perfection, it needs more truth. And you, Anna, are truth." She smiled. No tears this time, only quiet strength. She walked to her desk, picked up her phone, and opened her social media account, the one she hadn't used in weeks. She took a deep breath, then she posted the picture, no caption. No hash, just the photo. Within minutes, the internet began to buzz. At the studio headquarters, the executives were panicking. They had spent weeks promoting the film. They'd sent out hundreds of invites, secured sponsors, aligned press interviews. And now everyone was talking about Anna's absence. It's more than the film itself. But what shocked them most wasn't that she had missed the event. It was that her single post, one raw photo, no polish, no team behind it, was now being shared. Faster than any official campaign they had run. People were writing things like, "I don't know what this means, but it feels honest. She looks like someone who's finally breathing again. This is the Anna we need." And in the middle of it all, Keanu posted a single reply: "When someone you care about forgets who they are, remind them, not with noise, with presence." Anna turned off her phone. She didn't want to get pulled into the numbers, the likes, or the headlines. She just wanted to be. She walked into the kitchen and found a sticky note on the fridge. "It's handwriting again. Left you more dumplings. In the freezer. Also, the world's asking questions. Let me know if you want to answer them, or stay quiet. Either way, I've got your back." That's what made him different. He never pushed her to speak, perform, or explain herself. He just stood beside her no matter what. Meanwhile, the press had gone into full speculation mode. Was Ana de Armas too emotional to attend? Rumors of tension between actors false. Keanu Reeves skips film halfway. But why? But when one outlet tried to spin the story negatively, something unexpected happened. The crew from the night before released a short behind-the-scenes video. Just 15 seconds, Anna standing alone. In the red dress. No lights. No red carpet. Just her, breathing deeply. Then the director's voice saying gently in the background, "You're more than a movie star, Anna. You're a human being, and that's more than enough." The clip went viral within hours, and instead of gossip, the conversation changed. People started sharing their own stories of self-doubt, of breaking down quietly, of needing someone to show up. They weren't talking about fame anymore. They were talking about healing. Anna's silence became a symbol, not of weakness, but of quiet strength. Later that evening, Keanu knocked on her door again. This time, she was already dressed. Simple jeans, a sweater, hair tied back. She opened the door and smiled. "You really like knocking, don't you?" She teased. Keanu chuckled. "Just being polite." He held up 2 cups of tea. Green tea, he said. Your favorite? How do you always remember this stuff, she asked, taking one. He shrugged. Maybe I care. They sat on the floor. By the window, no furniture, just cushions. The sky outside turning pink and orange with the setting sun. Anna looked at him. Double quotes Keanu. Do you ever feel like you're pretending to? He sipped his tea and nodded. Double quotes all the time. How do you keep going? He paused for a long moment. I remind myself that acting is just part of me, not all of me. And I stay close to people who let me be quiet. She smiled gently, like you did for me, like we do for each other. Anna leaned back, her head resting against the wall. The fame, the headlines, the industry, all of it felt distant now. And for the first time in a long time, she wasn't. Afraid of it because she remembered who she was. Not a product, not a brand, a person. And someone believed in her when she forgot how to believe in herself. The letter that never made IF next few days passed quietly. Anna stayed mostly indoors. Not because she was hiding, but because for the first time, she didn't feel the need to prove anything to the world. Her phone buzzed constantly. Interviews, requests, praise from fans. People she hadn't heard from in years were now reaching out to say how brave she was. But she didn't feel brave. She just felt ... honest. Keanu visited often. Sometimes with food, sometimes with tea, sometimes with nothing but silence. They would sit and talk about everything except the industry. No scripts, no headlines, just life. One evening, as they sat on her rooftop, watching the stars peek through the city haze, Anna reached into her coat pocket and pulled out something folded and worn. A letter. She held it carefully, like it might crumble. I wrote this, she said quietly on the flight back from Madrid. 6 months ago, never sent it. Keanu turned to her, waiting. It was for my father, she continued. We haven't spoken in years. Not really. Not after.
Tell everything.
Keanu nodded gently. You don't have to tell me no, she interrupted.
I want.
2. She unfolded the paper slowly. He left when I was 12. Said he had dreams to chase. He always told me I was too emotional, too soft, that I'd never make it unless I toughened up. Her hands shook slightly as she read the first lines aloud. Dear Papa, I wish I could say I've forgiven you. I'm trying. I became everything you said I couldn't. Yet there are days I still feel like the scared little girl in the corner of our kitchen, watching you walk out with your suitcase. A pause. You told me softness was weakness. I believed you. But now ... I'm not so sure. Someone taught me that maybe softness is strength, and that maybe I don't need your approval. To love myself anymore? Anna lowered the letter. Her voice wavered. I wanted to send it so badly, but I kept thinking. What if he doesn't care? Keanu spoke softly. Then he doesn't. But you still spoke your truth. And that matters. Anna nodded slowly, her eyes moist but calm. I think I'm ready to let it go. She stood up, walked to the edge of the rooftop, and without drama, without anger, she let the letter fly. The wind took it gently. For a brief moment, it danced through the sky like a bird finally freed. She stood there in silence. Crying, not breaking, just breathing. Keanu joined her. That was brave, he said. Anna turned to him. I didn't do it to be brave. I did it to stop carrying it. The next day, Anna surprised him. She showed up at his small, quiet home on the edge of town. Not a mansion, just a place with books, motorcycles, and peace. He opened the door, confused. You came all the way. Here? She smiled. Yeah, I brought something. She held up a small camera and a folded paper. What's this? My first screenplay, she said. Well, ... half of one. Keanu raised his eyebrows. You wrote a screenplay I started? Years ago, but I never finished it, because I thought no one would take me seriously, because I thought I wasn't enough. He looked at her with quiet pride. Read it to me? They sat on his back porch as the sun started to dip. Anna unfolded the pages, cleared her throat, and began. The story was about a girl who lived in the shadows of her own success, about how the world clapped for her, but never really saw her, and about a stranger who showed up one night not to rescue her, but to remind her that she was worth rescuing herself. Keanu didn't interrupt once when she finished. She looked at him nervously. "Be honest," she said. "Is it any good?" He leaned forward. "It's not good," he said. Her face fell slightly. "It's beautiful," Anna blinked. "You're just saying that, no?" "I mean it, and I think the world needs this story." Anna looked down at her script, wrinkled from years of being forgotten. "Do you think anyone would believe it?" Keanu smiled. "They don't have to, as long as you do." 2 weeks later, the short clip of Anna in the red dress was quietly released by the director. Just as promised, no drama, no background noise, no studio branding, just a few seconds of her standing barefoot in her own living room. Slowly breathing in, the reaction was overwhelming. People didn't just watch it, they felt it. Actors shared it. Therapists shared it. Mothers and daughters and teachers and nurses shared it. They called it the moment of stillness. One commenter wrote, "I didn't even know I needed this till I saw it," another said. "I've been that woman, hiding in a room, waiting for someone to knock." Anna watched from her couch, a warm blanket wrapped around her shoulders. As the world responded not to perfection, but to truth, Keanu sat beside her, as always, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like an actress pretending to be strong. She felt like herself, and that was enough. Her voice, her terms, sunlight streamed through Anna's window, gentle and golden. It was the kind of morning that didn't rush you, the kind that let you breathe. Anna stood in front of her bathroom mirror. No makeup, hair still a mess. She looked into her own eyes and whispered softly, "You're here, and that's enough." She didn't need validation, not today, not after everything, but there was still one thing she hadn't done, one thing she had been avoiding. A message sat in her inbox from a popular talk show host. Short and polite. "We'd love to hear your story, Anna, but only if you're ready." Had ignored it for days. But today something inside her had shifted, not because she wanted to speak, but because she finally felt she could. So she replied with 2 words, "I'm ready." The studio arranged everything quietly. No public announcement, no trailers, just a private segment, one-on-one, no audience. No flash. Keanu offered to go with her, but she shook her head. "I need to do this alone," she said. "But can you be the first person I see after?" He smiled. "Always." When Anna stepped into the studio's back hallway, her heart beat faster. Memories of past interviews flashed in her mind, the forced smiles, the loaded questions, the pressure to be perfect. But this time, she felt different. This time she wasn't walking in as a celebrity. She was walking in as a human being. The host welcomed her gently. No loud energy, no performative tone, just a quiet kindness in their voice. "Thank you for coming, Anna. Thank you for asking me too." They sat across from each other in a small, softly lit room. The camera blinked red. Recording then, the host asked the question everyone had been wondering. "Why weren't you at the premiere?" Anna took a breath. And then slowly, honestly, she began. "I didn't go because I was afraid. I wasn't enough. Afraid the world would see through me, because I was tired of pretending." The host didn't interrupt. Anna continued. "But that night, someone reminded me that I didn't need to show up to the world in glitter and noise. That maybe sometimes the strongest thing you can do is be still, to be honest. Say I'm not okay and not be ashamed of it." The room was quiet. "Keanu showed up at my door," she said, her eyes shining. "He didn't come with cameras or expectations. He brought food, kindness, and a quiet space where I could just exist without judgment." The host leaned in. "And what did that mean to you?" Anna smiled softly. "It saved me." The interview aired the next night. No dramatic trailers, no edited teasers, just the full, quiet truth. And it reached millions. Not because it was flashy, but because it was real. Viewers around the world watched as Anna de Armas, the actress they had seen in polished posters and perfect dresses, sat in a simple chair and shared her truth with trembling honesty. It didn't just go viral. It started something, a new wave of actors. Artists and creators began to speak up. Not about scandals or gossip, but about the pressure, the anxiety, the loneliness behind. The lights, about mental health, about boundaries. About the cost of always performing Here to be human, trended globally for 3 straight days. Anna didn't try to lead anything, but she had unknowingly become a symbol. A few nights later, Keanu invited her to a quiet dinner, not at a restaurant, not at some industry gathering, but on a rooftop he rented for the night. Just above a quiet bookstore, there were string lights, 2 chairs, a small speaker playing soft jazz. Anna laughed when she saw it. "You're getting romantic," she teased. Keanu smiled. No cameras, no crowd, just dinner. They sat and watched the city breathe below. After a while, Anna turned to him. "You know what's funny?" "What?" "I missed the biggest premiere of my career. But I feel like that night gave me something bigger than any role ever has." Keanu nodded. "Because you didn't need a role that night. You just needed to be seen." Anna looked down. "Don't think I ever told you... Thank you. Not just for coming to my door, but for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." Keanu reached into his coat and handed her a folded piece of paper. She opened it. A photo. The same one she had posted, her barefoot in the red dress, staring into the projector light, but on the back, in Keanu's handwriting, were these words: "You didn't miss the event. You became the moment the world needed." Anna looked up. "At him? You think so?" He met her eyes. "I know so." They sat in silence after that, but it wasn't empty. It was full. Full of everything they didn't need to say anymore. The world didn't stop for Ana de Armas, but it began to meet. Her on her terms, and that changed everything. The spotlight within weeks passed. The buzz faded. The hashtags slowed down. The press moved on like it always does. But something stayed behind. Not a headline, not a trend, a feeling. A quiet, powerful shift that lived in the hearts of people who had watched Anna's story unfold not as a celebrity drama, but as a human truth. And Anna, she didn't return to the red carpets right away. Instead, she did something she hadn't done in years. She rested. She read books that had nothing to do with scripts. She cooked food without posting pictures. She went for long walks without makeup. Without hiding, slowly, she stopped asking for permission to just be herself. One afternoon, she sat in her living room with a pen in hand, the same room where she had once cried in silence. But today, it was filled with sunlight. She placed her notebook on the table. On the front cover, she had written 4 simple words: "My voice, my story." It was time. The short film she had written, the one she shared with Keanu weeks earlier, was now complete. They didn't pitch it to studios. They didn't chase producers. Keanu quietly funded it, not because he wanted to be a hero, but because he believed in stories that healed. The crew they brought together wasn't famous. No big names. Just artists who wanted to work with heart. They filmed it over 9 simple days. No trailers. No paparazzi. No press tours. Just honesty. Anna played the lead, a woman who had everything but couldn't hear her own voice anymore. A woman who slowly found herself again through silence, friendship, and truth. The story wasn't flashy, but it was real. On the night of the private screening, they didn't use a theater. Instead, they chose a community center in Anna's old neighborhood, a small, humble hall with foldable chairs and warm lights. Her mother came. Her childhood teacher came. Even the coffee shop owner from the corner, the one who had seen her walking to auditions barefoot all those years ago. He was there. And Keanu. He didn't sit in the front. He stood quietly in the back, hands in his pockets. Not the film, but Anna, watching how she smiled now, how her shoulders were no longer heavy, how she stood tall, not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because she finally knew who she was. After the film ended, the crowd stood in silence. No one clapped at first. They just sat still, absorbing what they had seen. Then a young girl stood up from the back row, no more than 15. "You," she said softly, "for showing me it's okay to be soft." Anna's eyes filled again, but this time She didn't hide the tears. She walked off the stage and hugged the girl tightly. "It's not just okay," she whispered. "It's beautiful." Months later, Anna and Keanu sat together under a tree in a quiet park. No cameras. No attention, just two friends who had walked through the fire together, you know, Anna said, looking up at the leaves. "I used to think I was only worth something if I kept shining for the world." Keanu looked at her, and now,
Ow.
"I know, ... The light doesn't come from them. It comes from inside." He nodded, then handed her something small. A necklace. Delicate. Simple. On it, a tiny charm shaped like an open door. "What's this?" she asked. "A reminder," he said, "that the next time the world forgets who you are, just open the door and walk back in." She smiled as she put it on. Then she looked at him with gentle eyes. "You really showed up for me, didn't you?" Keanu shook his head. "No. I just stood where the light already was." And so, the story that began with an empty chair ended with a full heart. Anna didn't need a stage to shine. She didn't need a spotlight. Because somewhere along the way, she stopped waiting to be invited, and instead, she brought her truth forward, quietly, bravely, and beautifully. And the world, it listened, not because she shouted, but because she was finally truly unapologetic ally, herself.